Yesterday, Dr. Paul Cottrell and intrepid researcher George Webb held their most recent online meeting of the minds. Cottrell was one of the first to come forward and publicly state that his research showed that the disease afflicting the United States and the majority of other nations on the planet was, in fact, engineered in a Level 4 lab. Webb has spent the past several months collecting background information on the key players appointed to the President's White House task force. In the upload, Webb references Bruce Nussbaum's 1990 book, Good Intentions: How Big Business and the Medical Establishment Are Corrupting the Fight Against Autoimmune Deficiency Syndrome. Webb says that a large portion of Nussbaum's book is about Anthony Fauci and how Fauci, in the late 1980s, used the federal bureaucracy to block all research on the development of a drug to treat autoimmune deficiency syndrome. Instead, Fauci pushed his patented interleukin-2, a derivative of which became the highly toxic and controversial AZT. To give you some idea of the depth of corruption that Cottrell and Webb discuss and are extremely concerned about, what follows are the key takeaways from Celia Farber's 1989 exposé on the scandal surrounding AZT, Sins of Omission. On August 17, 1989, newspapers across America banner-headlined that AZT had been proven to be effective in antibody-positive asymptomatic patients, even though one of the main concerns was that the drug should only be used in a last-case scenario for critically ill autoimmune deficiency syndrome patients because of the drug's extreme toxicity. Dr. Anthony Fauci, head of the National Institutes of Health, was now pushing to expand the prescription. The FDA's traditional concern had been thrown out the window. Already, AZT had spread to 60 countries and an estimated 20,000 people. Not only had no new evidence allayed the initial concerns regarding AZT's toxicity and safety, but the follow-up data that had been promised fell by the wayside. The beneficial effects of the drug had been proven to be temporary. The toxicity, however, stayed the same. AZT had been approved faster than any drug in FDA history, and activists considered it a victory. The price paid for the victory, however, was that almost all government trials from then on focused on AZT, while over 100 other promising drugs were left uninvestigated. Burroughs Wellcome stock went through the roof when the announcement was made. AZT was the most expensive drug ever marketed. On August 17, 1989, the government announced that 1.4 million healthy antibody-positive Americans could benefit from taking AZT, even though they showed no symptoms of the disease. New studies have proven that AZT is effective in stopping the progression of autoimmune deficiency syndrome in asymptomatic and early cases. Dr. Anthony Fauci, head of the National Institutes of Health, proudly announced that a trial had been going on for 2 years and had clearly shown that early intervention will keep autoimmune deficiency syndrome at bay. Anyone that has antibodies to and less than 500 T4 cells should start taking AZT at once, Fauci said. That's approximately 650,000 people. 1.4 million Americans are assumed antibody positive, and eventually, all of them may need to take AZT so they don't get sick, Fauci contended. The leading newspapers didn't seem to think it was unusual that there was no existing copy of the study that Fauci referenced, but rather a breezy 2-page press release from the NIH. When the author of the article that I'm narrating called the National Institutes of Health and asked for a copy of the study, they told her that it was still being written. Anthony Fauci's AZT proved to be one of the most toxic, expensive, and controversial drugs in the history of medicine. In the upload, Dr. Cottrell and George Webb present an astonishing and extremely troubling timeline leading up to the current outbreak crisis, not the least of which being that Fauci, Birx, and CDC Chief Redfield have an alarming history that goes back several decades. In the video, Cottrell says to Webb, "The world at large, but definitely the American citizenry, needs to get educated that we're in this crisis because of individuals that are in government right now that are making decisions. They had their hand in a weapons program that eventually got out and started infecting the whole world, and it's important that they're brought to justice. Now, how that happens, I don't know. Unfortunately, a lot of people don't know the knowledge that you have, that these people are, in my mind, criminals." A link to the Cottrell Webb upload is provided in the production notes below this video. You gotta watch it. Links to my sources, including a gem that George Webb uncovered, a peer-reviewed article published in 2017 that shows Fauci's NIH funded multiple Chinese research projects that focused on the genetics of the disease currently sweeping across the planet, are available on my site. Please like, share, and subscribe. This is Nancy Morgan Hart.